नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। भूतैर्महद्भिर्यमा पुरो विभु निर्मायश्येते यदमुषु पुरुषा भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मका स्थूलङ्कृशिष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे। श्री कृष्ण शरणं शरणागतं कथामृतं सततपीबतं भक्ति वेदान्त मार्गपन्थनं सर्वलोक ऋषिदेव जन प्रसन्नं सर्वलोक ऋषिदेव जन प्रसन्नं। Hare Krishna, dear Prabhuji. So, welcome to the second day of the Bhishma Panchaka. So, after this, 2 more days only of Kartik Mass is remaining. Nonetheless, our devotional service should not slow down. That's the actually purpose of these festives or these rathas that Krishna very kindly gives us every year. What we were before Kartik, we shouldn't be after Kartik, but a better form of us. So yesterday we were having very nice discussion on text number 41, where we see the translation of this verse is, when one is face to face with the sun, there is no longer darkness for one's eyes. Similarly, when one is face to face with a sadhu, a devotee, who is fully determined and surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will no longer be subject to material bondage. So in Srimad Bhagavatam it is mentioned, prasangam majaram pasham, that this material world is full of bondage, pasham, prasangam, ajaram pasham, atmana kavayo viduhu. And the experts, the kaviyos, they have concluded this point that however, if same attachment that we have for material world, ta eva sadhu shukrito, we apply that same attachment to sadhus. So in case of Srila Prabhupada, we see there were so many disciples who were so attached to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada's purity acted like a magnet. Srila Prabhupada's compassion acted like a magnet. It just brought everyone attracted to him. This is the quality of a pure devotee. Everyone cannot help but be spontaneously, helplessly, and automatically be attracted to a pure devotee. However, if we are consumed by the rust of lust, then we won't be attracted. Like the iron filings, if they are rusty, then the rust will prevent the attraction to the magnet. However, nonetheless, the sadhus are extra merciful, like we see in the case of Narad Muni here. By hook or crook, they want somehow or by some method devotees to do devotional service onto Krishna. In one of the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, when he comes in contact with the Avadut Brahmana, there the Avadut Brahmana says to Prahlad Maharaj that it is not my business to praise or criticize anyone, because everyone is impelled to act according to their own natures. However, I simply wish that somehow or the other they engage in devotional service of Krishna, and in this way make their lives perfect. So everyone is in different levels of realizations, or we can say rather lack of realization. But a sadhu, very expertly, like Narad Muni, he asked Ratnakara, who became later Valmiki after purification, to chant Mara, 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 Mara. Now, what kind of mantra is this? Means kill, to kill, to kill. But Narad Muni is such an expert preacher that by any method possible, he will make the devotee out of the worst sinful person. So one of the themes of this pastime is that every saint had a past and every sinner will have a future. There's no reason for despondency. So if there are some blockages which is preventing us from progressing in devotional service, we don't need to become despondent. As we were discussing yesterday, alasyam vyapaniya bhakti sulakam. The only one thing we have to do is give up alasyam, our laziness. Laziness is the only thing, Prabhus and Matajis, which will prevent us from progressing on the path of devotional service. And laziness is no excuse. Our weaknesses can be an excuse, but we don't have to worry about that. As long as we surrender unto Krishna and do devotional service with all our inabilities and all our weaknesses, Krishna will take care of it. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharmam parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. What does it basically mean? That we don't have to worry about anything else. We don't have to worry about our designations. Designation means I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm responsible for this job, I'm responsible for this person. Actually, these designations are material. They are not to be ignored, but they are not to be taken as a reason for not performing devotional service. Therefore, that designation rather has to be rejected. So Krishna says, Sarva dharmam parityajya, giving up those designations, mam ekam sharanam braja, we surrender unto Krishna, regarding Krishna as our maintainer, our protector, in mood of humility, we have to do that. And doing so, then what will Krishna do? Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. That is Krishna's job description. Our job description is to surrender and do devotional service. Krishna's job description is to purify us and protect us. However, we get concerned about Krishna's job description, which is purification and protection. We don't have to worry about that. If we do our part, Krishna will do his part. So Sadhu's mercy is definitely there. Krishna's mercy is definitely there. But when we become complacent and lazy in our devotional service, then actually we are closing the doors of our house, we're closing the windows of our house, we're closing the curtains of our house, and we are choosing to remain in darkness and not letting the light that emanates from the devotees and Krishna to penetrate our hearts and purify us. So let's look at the last verse, text number 42. Sorry, second last verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tadgachatam mat paramo nalakuvera sadhanam sanjato mai bhavo vam ipsita paramo bhavaha. Translation: O Nalkuver Manigri, now you may both return home, since you desire to be always absorbed in my devotional service. Your desire to develop love and affection for me will be fulfilled, and now you will never fall from that platform. So this is Krishna's promise. Yad gatvana nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. If we attain to Krishna consciousness, we go back home, back to Godhead. and non-nivartante, never to come back in this material world. Prabhupada in the paper says this, the highest perfection of life is to come to the platform of devotional service and always engage in devotional activity. Understanding this, Nal Kuber and Manigriv decide to attain that platform. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead blessed them with the fulfillment of their transcendental desire. So if we really desire to engage in Krishna's devotional service, why wouldn't Krishna bless us? He'll definitely bless us. One of Krishna's names given is Varada. Shri Vallabheti Bharadeti Daya Pareti Bhaktya Priyeti Bhavaluntanako Videti. Very nicely, Kurukshetra Maharaj explains. Shri Vallabheti, he is the husband of goddess of fortune. So, if we form a relationship with Krishna, why wouldn't our fortune change for good? And on top of that, Varadeti, Varada. Vara means benediction, and Da means he gives. So he is the giver of the best and of the choicest of benedictions. And on top of that, Varadeti, he is Dayapareti. He is very merciful. Krishna's mercy knows no bounds. Now just imagine these two, Nal Kuber and Manigriv, what chance did they have? They were drunkards, they were womanizing, and that too in a place of pilgrimage in the pure river Ganges. But Yadrichaya, Krishna, as per the providence, arranged so that Narad Muni became inspired to go through that region where these two were naked. And then Narad Muni, due to exhibit anugraha, mercy, he kissed them. And they became purified through that kiss, and they became fully cognizant of the fact as to what their duty is. So Krishna is Dayapareti. His mercy knows no bound. And for each and every living entity, he is merciful. Bhaktya Priyeti. And he is very dear to his devotees. Without devotees, Krishna actually doesn't desire to even enjoy his opulences. Krishna says this in Bhagavatam. Bhakta Priyeti Bhavaluntanako Videti. And Krishna is Kovida. Kovida means he is an expert. Expert in what? Bhavalunthana. Expert in plundering the cycle of birth and death. So we are struggling in this cycle, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, birth, death, old age, and disease. And Krishna is Kovida, expert in plundering this cycle of birth and death. So we only have to have faith. No, Krishna is my master, Krishna is my savior, and his agent, the spiritual master, and the various gurus who are following in the path of this parampara, they are my only hope and my via medium to Krishna consciousness. And in this way, our birth will be successful. Safalyam. Any questions, Prabhu and Mataji? We'll go to the last verse. Shri Shuka Uvacha iti uktota parikramya pranamya cha punah punah baddho lukhalam amratya jagmatur disham uttaram. Shukdev Goswami said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having spoken to the two demigods in this way, they circumambulated the Lord, who was bound to the wooden mortar, and offered obeisances to him. After taking the permission of Krishna, they returned to their respective homes. Word to word, Shri Shuka Uvacha, Shri Shukdev Goswami said, Iti Ukto, having been ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this way, Tau, Nalukuvara and Manigriva, Parikramya, circumambulating, Pranamya, offering obeisances, Cha also, Punaha Punaha, again and again. So this is very important, that Nalkuber and Manigriv did not just stand there, they did parikrama, they circumambulated the Lord, you know. And every morning at least, we should also try to circumambulate Srimati Tulsi Maharani, because Srimati Tulsi Maharani is the custodian of bhakti. Every day we recite this prayer, Vrindaya Tulsi Devyaya, Priyaya Keshvasya Cha, Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi, Satyavatyai Namo Namaha. Tulsi Maharani is very dear to Lord Krishna, and she gives the privilege of devotional service onto the devotees who serve Lord Krishna and serve her. And of course, if we are near the temple, then the circumambulation of the deities in the temple that we should be doing. And not only once, not only twice, here it is mentioned punah punah, again and again. And what was the condition of Krishna? Baddha ulukhalam amartya. Taking the permission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was bound to the wooden mortar. Now, Krishna is bound and he has liberated these two. And these two now are free to go to their respective abodes and continue their devotional service. Jagmatuhu, and these two departed Disham Uttaram to their respective destinations. So any questions or comments, Prabhus and Matajis? So this brings us to the end of the 10th chapter of the 10th canto, thus end of Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 10th canto, 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Deliverance of Yamala Arjuna trees. So I was thinking that we should go back and visit some practical points of this pastime, and especially verse number 38 of the 10th chapter, where the 6 resolutions are taken. So one thing I'll ask all devotees to do, if they can actually memorize these verses, this particular verse by tomorrow. So in Srimad Bhagavatam class at Krishna Bhakti Yoga at Berber, we can actually study these verses in detail. And also, you can practically tell that henceforth what resolutions you are taking in devotional service and how you plan to implement those resolutions, and what do you understand, by these 6 resolutions of Nalkava and Manigriv. Let's recite this again. And as I mentioned, learning word to word is important in memorization of verses, and singing these verses is very important. It's not just speaking impromptu. We have to sing these verses. And also singing in the right meter is very important. Each verse has a specific meter. And actually, some of these verses, for example, this one can be sung in 3 or 4 different meters. For example, the most famous one is Vani Gunanu Kathane Shravano Kathayam Hasto Chakarma Sumanastava Padayona Smrityam Sirastava Nivasa Jagad Praname Drishti Satam Darshane Bhavatastanunam. And we know this as the Brahma Samhita meter. And then there is another meter. Vani Gunanu Kathane Shravano Kathayam Hasto Chakarma Sumanas Tava Padayona Smritya Shiras Tava Nivasa Jagat Praname Drishti Satam Darshane Bhavatastanunam Drishti Satam Darshane Bhavatastanunam. Let's look at the word to word again and try to memorize this verse. So Vani, words, the power of speech. Guna Anukathane, always engage in talking about your pastimes. And we discuss Anukathane means that in the line of previous acharyas, when the word Anu is added there, it becomes following the parampara. Guna Anukathane. Shravano, the ear or oral reception, Kathaya. It talks about you and your pastimes. So in the first line, 2 points are mentioned, that may we always engage in singing your qualities and glories, in hearing your pastimes. And then which follows, hasto chakarmaso, that may our hands always be engaged with all other senses, legs, in serving you, doing devotional service unto you. So we have looked at this point, that how important it is to ultimately not only dedicate our work to Krishna, but to work for Krishna. Actually, we are all meant to do this. Our work is only meant for Krishna. Now, in the interim, we may not be in onto that position, but however, at least we should desire and we should pray daily to Krishna. Krishna, please somehow or the other arrange my life so that I don't have to work for anyone but you. Working for Krishna exclusively means basically doing everything for Krishna, cleaning his temple, cooking for him, making garlands from him, washing pots in the kitchen, those pots which have been cooked, for him, reading Srimad Bhagavatam for his pleasure, reading Srimad Bhagavatam to preach his message, to reclaim other living entities. So many activities are there, distributing books, distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, facilitating other devotees' visits who are advanced so that people have opportunity to hear him. These are all directly working for Krishna. And the essence of Bhagavad Gita, the verse is 1155, Mat Karma Krin. Krishna says, do your karma for me. Mat Karma Krin. Regarding me as Parama, the Supreme. Mat Karma Krin, Mat Paramo. And in this way, Mad Bhakta, become my devotee, Krishna is saying. Now, how this may happen, we don't know. Krishna, if he really wants, he can employ us. He's the best employer. Kulshekhar Maharaj very nicely says in one of the verses, Nate nahu purushottame trijagatam ekadhipe chetasam sevye swasya padasya dhatari pare narayane tishtati. That, O Purushottama, O Krishna, the master of the whole universe, Trijagatam, ekadhipe chetasam, who can be saved by the consciousness of living entity. Sevye swasya padasya dhatiri param narayane tishtati. You are the Supreme Lord Narayana, maintaining everyone, and everyone can save you in meditation and in chanting. However, people in general are so fallen. They don't want to work for you. Sevya swasya padasya dhatari pare narayanam tishtati. What instead they do? They save some meager material boss just for some meager rewards. Maybe head of a village you may be made. However, when we serve the Lord, Krishna takes fully in charge, and the way Krishna rewards us, no other boss actually can reward us. So this aspect of Nal Kubir and Manikri's prayer, if we really take this to heart and try to pray to Krishna at least earnestly, that Krishna, I don't want to work for anyone else, I want to exclusively work for you. I don't want to live anywhere else. I want to live close to your temple and your devotee so that I can be engaged in full-time service to you. We don't have to worry about maintenance of ourselves, because when Krishna maintains, he maintains in a much better way than we can ever do the maintenance of ourselves. Actually, we do discredit to ourselves by not relying on Krishna for maintenance, because we sometimes actually most times we make a mess of the situation. But if we actually want to work for Krishna and do work for Krishna, then Krishna takes charge. And Krishna, whatever is needed, he'll supply. Whatever is lacking, he'll provide. Whatever we have, he will preserve. Yoga Kshemam Mahamyahan. And at least we should pray, Krishna, let me live close to temples, let me live close to devotees, so that I can be full-time engaged in your service and my mind doesn't go in any other occupation and in any other object or subject. And then Manastava Padayorna, my mind is constantly situated in meditating on your lotus feet. For the devotee, Krishna's lotus feet, as we are discussing, is the anchor, which the devotee holds onto very tightly. Parikshit Maharaj, I think he says, Dhaut Atma Purusha Krishna. When the devotee is purified by devotional service, then Dhaut Atma, that means purified devotee, Purusha. Dhaut Atma Purusha Krishna. What happens? Padamulam namunchati. He does not leave the core of the lotus feet of Krishna. Padamulam namunchati. Mukta sarva parikleshaha. He becomes liberated from all the bad habits. And pantaha sva sharanam yatha. And Krishna's lotus feet is like his home. After a long journey, we desire to come back home, no matter how nice the journey may be. After some time, we want to go back home. So similarly, Krishna's lotus feet actually is the abode of our home, is our home. Pantaha swa sharanam yatha. And until and unless we come to the shelter of the abode of our home, we are not happy. But when we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, and always remember, Amrish Maharaj, I think he also says, Savai Manaha Krishna Padar Vintyo. Let my mind always be situated on the lotus feet of the Lord. Meaning, do devotional service unto Lord, various activities of pertaining to Krishna consciousness. And Tava Nivasa Jagat Praname. And at the same time, being aware that Krishna is in each and every living entity, and our duty is to pay obeisances unto them, meaning that we acknowledge everyone as part and parcels of Krishna, and we envy no one, we respect everyone. Others may be having envy towards us, but we stay above and we don't stoop down to that level. And lastly and most importantly, Drishtihi satam darshanestu bhavattanunam. Although Krishna is everywhere in everyone, but we specially desire to see and serve the satam, the devotees of the Lord, and have their darshan, because the devotees of the Lord are not separate to Krishna. They have bound Krishna, Krishna is bound in their hearts, and Krishna is under the control of the devotees' pure love. And it is through the medium of the devotee that we will get Krishna's bhakti. So, although we see Krishna everywhere, but particularly we want to see and have darshan and engage and associate with pure devotees of the Lord. So, Prabhu and Mataji's, any comments or questions? So what we'll do tomorrow, at Brisbane Bhakti Yoga, we'll have the morning session where we'll try to memorize this verse. So all of you actually should be reciting this verse and trying to memorize and give your realization, not only of this verse, but any verse in these 2 chapters and things you liked about. And on Monday, which is the last day, I was thinking that it will be nice to hear from everyone. If you can speak for a few minutes, giving your realizations of Kartik Mas, giving you realizations of hearing and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, these chapters, and in that way, we can take from each other's realization and grow in Krishna consciousness. Would that be okay? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, we will try. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Krishna, have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. Krishna willing, we'll see you all this evening. Children are doing special presentation for pleasure of their lordships, and then we'll have Aarti and Damodar Ashtakam. Jai Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Kartik Damodar Mas ki, Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.